Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast Patreon exclusive content episode. Once again, I am your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Thursday once again. So I just got wrapped up with the live portion of today's show. We went through a variety of topics. We went over some headlines around the league, specifically the season-ending injury for Anthony Richardson, so he's going to undergo season-ending shoulder surgery. So he is out for the rest of the year. So Gardner Minshew is going to be the starting quarterback moving forward for the Colts. We had a trade yesterday. The New York Jets traded wide receiver Mecole Hardman back to the Kansas City Chiefs. So obviously Hardman was a member of those Super Bowl teams with the Chiefs, and the Chiefs, kind of desperate for a wide receiver. They get back a familiar face. They traded a late-round pick for him. And, listen, the Jets were looking to try to move him because they, he just did not have a role on this team. He really just was a non-factor. I mean, he only had one catch for 6 yards. That was it, which really just was confusing because, obviously, it was confusing because why didn't he get any playing time? With Aaron Rodgers, he probably would have played a little bit more, but, for some reason just did not, really factor into the offense with Zach Wilson now at quarterback. So they traded him back to the Chiefs, and he's going to have more of a role on that team because the Chiefs really need wide receiver help. I mean, obviously week one, now we're in week 7, but week 1 was a clear indication of that when there was no Travis Kelce and you had Kadarius Toney dropping passes, all over the place. So, they get him in. I still think they need to get a wide receiver, another wide receiver. There's a few they could the thing is, some of them are in their own division, which they're not going to get. They're not going to get Cortland Sutton. They're not going to get Jerry Jeudy or Renfro, as my dog barks once again, scaring me. Yesterday did the same exact thing. So, yeah, so I don't know what do the Chiefs make another move and get a wide receiver, or do they they're like, hey, we got Hardman, we're good now. So we'll see. Listen, this Chiefs team is different because now they're running the football a lot more. Isaiah Pacheco is having a great year for them. And he's been a great investment for me in fantasy this year as well. So I did maybe overpay for him in one of my dynasty drafts, dynasty leagues, to get him because I traded a 2025 first for him. But he's looked good so far, and continues to run the football effectively. And listen, that's what the Chiefs are going to do. That's going to be until they can be more consistent, throwing the football. The running game is going to be a huge factor in the game, especially with Pacheco, running the ball like he has. Obviously, Mahomes is having a good year, but he's not having an MVP type season like he was, last year. But he's still been good. Not saying that there's concerns there. I'm not concerned with the Chiefs. I'm not. I think they're going to be fine. They're tied for the best record in the AFC. Big game with the Dolphins coming up in a couple of weeks. So, but they got a big game on Sunday against the Chargers, because obviously Chargers coming off of a loss. The Chargers-Chiefs games are usually very close, so we'll see. But, Justin Herbert definitely did look off on Monday, so we'll see how this game goes. And Justin Herbert was a topic of conversation today. Obviously, one of the topics on today's show was talking about Justin Herbert and, whether or not, he's overrated. And listen, I can understand why people think that. What I agreed with is not necessarily that he's overrated. I do agree that a lot of people, they pick and choose on who they criticize and who they don't based off of who they like. Like, if you like Justin Herbert, you're not going to criticize him, but if you don't like Dak Prescott, anything he does, you're going to criticize. So I do agree with that. But I don't think Justin Herbert's overrated. I think Justin Herbert has a ton of talent. I mean, I understand why people think Justin Herbert could be overrated. He had a bad playoff loss against against the Jaguars. I mean, nobody's going to forget that. But I think what I said on the show was, obviously he's got a head coach that, isn't great, is over-aggressive with his play calling. And, like that I think has definitely factored into some of the rough losses that he's had, over the years. Last year, I mean, I definitely would put him, I would hold him responsible for, why they lost in that game. I mean, he's got to be one of the main. He is one of the main reasons why they lost that game. I mean, and Herbert, and not to say Herbert isn't responsible, because he is. I agree with that 100%. It's just, I think it's more so that Herbert doesn't, maybe it's also because Herbert doesn't get enough criticism. I think that's also why. Because, the guy is super talented, and I talked about how, again, people look at him as a social media quarterback, people say. And it's weird that that's getting thrown around now. That, he has a lot of great throws, and you're like, wow, that was amazing. And then, the bad throws really don't get highlighted either. So, I mean, I understand it. I get it. But for me, I think the guy has a lot of talent. I feel like you got to put the right coach in there. I feel like that's what it all comes down to. And once you do that, because, I mean, the Chargers, they're kind of one of those teams that just, they haven't had a lot of luck. Going back to, Phillip Rivers' really Phillip Rivers' whole career, really, with the Chargers. They're a team that, in general, they have choked a lot of games. So, and football's a team sport. So you can't just solely blame the quarterback. Like, you're going to blame Justin Herbert for why, the defense gives up, they end up losing the game 36-34 to the Dolphins. Chargers put up a lot of points, but, they didn't win it in the end. You got to factor that in too. I mean, I don't know. But again, I understand where the criticism comes from. I completely get it. But I don't want to sit here and say he's overrated. Now, does he deserve more criticism? I mean, yeah. I mean, listen, he didn't play well on Monday. He didn't. But am I going to sit here and say, I mean, some people saying I think one of the comments was on social media, it's like he's the most overrated quarterback in the NFL. Really? I don't think so. I think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. I think he's a top 5 quarterback. But again, I understand he probably does deserve some more criticism, but I don't know. So, but yeah, that was one of the main. That was the title of today's show, because that's just something that people talked about is especially after that loss. Is he overrated? I mean, I don't think he is, but I know there's a lot of people that do think he is. So, and maybe he needs a better head coach, and that's why I had that smooth transition with, hey, could Bill Belichick be a guy that comes in and coaches the Chargers next year? Because I did talk about, is this Bill Belichick's final year in New England? And listen, I think so. I think it really all depends on how bad the season turns out. Because if they end up winning at most 4 games, I mean, why would you want to come back? Because, I mean, the first year without Brady, you finished 7-9. You made the playoffs the second year. Last year, you barely missed the playoffs. You went 8-9. I mean, and it's only getting worse. I mean, they couldn't even beat the Raiders. Bill Belichick could not beat his apprentice, Josh McDaniels. Couldn't beat him. You know? And the Raiders are now 3-3. Yeah, I just, it's not looking good right now. And the biggest thing is it's really hurting Belichick's legacy. I think it really is. Because now everybody looks at what he's done since Brady left, and it's like, what have you done? Brady won a Super Bowl. Brady made the playoffs every single year with the Bucs. Now, the final year was not good. I mean, they finished, both teams had the same record, but one of them won their division, the other missed the playoffs. You know, like, that matters. And listen, I mean, Belichick is still a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's going to go down as one of the greatest head coaches to ever live. But listen, Brady was the quarterback for all those years. And then he leaves. He wins a Super Bowl without you. And you haven't done anything since he's left. Now, like I talked about on the show, the live portion, I think if he goes to another situation, and that's a better situation than the one he's in currently right now, and, you know, he coaches there and does well there, then, you know, then we say, hey, he did it without Brady, so, you know, but, I mean, the team's not good that he's with right now, but you know what, he's one of the main reasons why the team is the way it is. You know, like, you surrounded Brady his last couple of years with not that much talent offensively. Defenses were still good, but, you know, the offenses, they lacked playmakers. You know? That's just that's something that you know, that's been a problem the last couple of years. You know, so that's just that's something that the Patriots are going to have to figure out right now. Is you know, and also, like, if Belichick does stay, you know, is he going to be are they going to want to minimize his role? Are they going to want to say, you know, listen, like, you've been the general manager, but I think it's time you kind of take a step back and you kind of make somebody else, you know, make the decisions. Get another voice. It's a problem. So they're really going to have to, I mean, there's a lot of question marks with the Patriots right now. You know, is Mac Jones the guy? I mean, I don't think so. But again, it's true, though, when people say it's hard to evaluate talent when, you know, you don't really surround them with a lot of talent. You know, like, Mac Jones, who's been his top receiver? I mean, like, you know, there's no, like, I mean, they had a chance to maybe go out and get DeAndre Hopkins. You know, that definitely would have helped. But they didn't do that. You know, like, they could have did a lot of things, but they just, you know, they chose to just kind of, like, you know, sign all these, like, you know, wide receiver 2, 3 guys. And, you know, it hasn't worked out. And like I said on the live portion of the show, I mean, they go out and they sign, you know, Juju Smith-Schuster. They sign Mike Gesicki. They sign Ezekiel Elliott. And you're like, I mean, again, I was like, well, they'd be good complementary pieces. Like, you put them on a team that already has an elite offense, and you're like, yeah, that's good. But, like, Zeke could be a good goal line rusher. And, you know, and it really, like, stunk for him the other day because he had a 74-yard touchdown, and it got called back. You know, he did end up scoring a touchdown in the game, and that was off of a, you know, a direct snap at the goal line. So, yeah, like, he'd be a good, like, goal line rusher. Mike Gesicki could be a good, number 2 tight end. And Juju Smith-Schuster could be, like, a good, like, number 3. If he went back to the Chiefs, it would work. But, like, them being, like, the main components of the Patriots offense, it's not good. It doesn't make sense. Like, you're not surrounding your quarterback with any elite talent. I mean, like, you look at, listen, I think Mac Jones could have used DJ Moore. And now DJ Moore is going to have, Tyler Bagent throwing him the ball on Sunday. Listen, they had a great game against Washington, but what happened after that? Now Fields is hurt. It doesn't look good for Justin Fields right now either. So, but yeah, like, the Patriots really have not done a good job at surrounding their young quarterback with talent. And, he's had to go through, like, 3 different offensive coordinators. Well, 4 different, because you had Joe Judge and Matt Patricia calling plays last year, which just made no sense. The first year you had Josh McDaniels. So that was his best year with Josh McDaniels. And whether you want to believe it or not, Mac Jones was a Pro Bowler. He was. So ever since then, it's gone backwards. And they just have failed to surround him with talent. Not hitting on draft picks, not bringing in guys. That's on Belichick. So, and again, I just think it's incredible that, people, how Patriot fans are just done with him. They're done with him. Like, the guy's been awesome for you guys for years. And, you guys are like, yeah, we're done. Like, get him out of here. But that's just because it's been really bad. Now, again, he's kind of like Brian Cashman, I guess. I did bring this up, too. Brian Cashman, part of, was part of those World Series teams, 2009 most recently. Now, Belichick has won, multiple rings in the 2010s. Cashman didn't win anything in the 2010s. Cashman, he's overstayed his welcome a lot longer than Belichick has. This is now more recent with Belichick. But yeah, these are guys that are part of the decision making, drafting and signing free agents, and they both haven't delivered for their teams that have won a lot in the past. Patriots obviously have won a lot more recently than the Yankees have, but still, maybe it's time for a fresh start for both parties. Maybe the Patriots got to go in a different direction. Maybe Belichick's got to go in a different direction. I think so. I think they should go in different directions. Because, again, like, it's fine to say he overstayed his welcome, But, it remains to be seen. There's still a lot of season left to be played. Can the Patriots turn it around? Right now there's, like, no sign of that happening. There's no sign of that happening at all. So, I don't know. We'll just have to, like I always say, we'll just have to wait and see. So, obviously, then in the final part of the show, I previewed the Jaguars, Saints game. Definitely a bigger game for the Saints, I would say, and they're just trying to get it going offensively, and they really have not been able to do that. Like, scoring points has been a problem this year for them. Derek Carr, listen, he threw for 350 yards against the Texans, but, that only amounted to 13 points. They missed points off of field goals. It just they just have not looked good. And, and listen, I don't want to put it all on him, but yeah, he just hasn't looked that good so far. Again, he threw for 350. But, to my family members that kept saying, we want Derek Carr, I mean, now obviously I couldn't predict what would have happened to Aaron Rodgers because that was just, I mean, who saw that coming? Especially, maybe you saw him getting hurt, but 4 snaps into the game? But yeah, they kept saying, we want Derek Carr. I'm like, I would want Aaron Rodgers, regardless of the headaches. And listen, Derek Carr just... Now, maybe if he was on the Jets, I mean, different situation. Their defense is, playing really well. I don't know. It's kind of like similar situations. I mean, you got a good running game, good receivers, good defense. I mean, would it be more of the same? Like the offense, I don't know. I mean, he'd definitely be better than Zach Wilson, Derek Carr. But I don't know. I feel like Derek Carr's been kind of on the decline, the last couple of years. But we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I feel like the other thing, too, is like Dennis Allen's just not really that good of a coach. I mean, they weren't that good last year either. I think also it has to fall on coaching as well with this team. So, I don't know. But, this is a big game for them tonight. I mean, Kamara's looked good. Michael Thomas, knock on wood, he's been good for them this year. Olave too as well. But they are missing some pieces. Both teams are going to be, or possibly going to miss some pieces on the offensive line tonight. So and the Jags defense looked good last week. The Saints defense is not great, but it's still, it's still a good defense. Definitely not as good as it has been in years past, but still a respectable defense. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Obviously Trevor Lawrence, it's not a lock that he's going to play, but I mean, I probably lean towards saying he is going to play. So I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a one-score game. I said 20-17, Jags win. But we'll see. I mean, right now the Jags I think are they're getting 2.5 points against the Saints. So right now the Saints are favored. But I just don't trust the Saints offense. I just don't. Their offense just has not been consistent this year. I mean, so I kind of expect more of the same tonight. But I mean, I'm just hoping for at least a good game, get an improvement over last week against the with the Broncos and the Chiefs game. As long as that game is better, as long as this game is better than that game. That's really what I'm trying to say. So, but I don't know. We're just gonna have to, we'll see what happens tonight. It's obviously on Amazon Prime, so if you have Prime, make sure to tune in to it. Yeah, I just not a fan of the streaming service stuff. I'll be honest. And obviously they're in the playoff game. One of the playoff games is going to be exclusively on Peacock. I mean, I just don't like it. I don't like where all this is kind of heading. I mean, listen, I get it, but it's just you got to pay for all these streaming services, and it's annoying. We got Prime, we got Netflix. I pay for Disney Plus. We got use my cousin's Hulu. We got HBO. Well, sorry, not HBO Max. Max, sharing that with my cousin too. But I mean, it's just so many. It's so many. Now I got to get Peacock to watch the football games. It's annoying. It's annoying. But at least where I'll be tonight, Amazon Prime has its own channel. So it's in the 4,000s. It's $42.90 or something. Yeah, it's something weird. So at least we'll be able to just watch it doing that. But if you have Verizon or whatever, that's not an option for you. You gotta take out the Fire Stick, and you're gonna have to watch it like that. Or if you have the Amazon app on your phone, you can do it that way. So. See, I would like it better if they were simulcast. If they did that for everything, then I think that would be fine, because then everybody wins. Then you have all the viewers on TV watching TV, they watch it, and then there are people that use streaming services, they watch it there. But I don't know. I think it's because they just want people to go and buy the streaming services. So, yeah, it's a different world now. It really is. Like the pandemic kind of was like the experimental period, and now it's like, hey, let's use these streaming services because that's what everybody was using during COVID. And once that kind of that opened up, we're not going back. We're not. So it's here to stay. And before you know it, I mean, traditional television is, who knows what's going to happen. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it with the show for today. Once again, I thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow, recapping the game from tonight. Oh, hit my mic. We'll also preview all the games for Week 7 and all that good stuff. So, until then, I'm Kenneth Gruenfelder signing off once again from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Again, this was another edition of the Patreon exclusive content episode. So make sure to tune in tomorrow, and I'll see you guys then. Take care. Enjoy the game tonight.